Hey GAWDA members, we hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. As we head into the last month of 2021, today's episode is all about pre-planning for your business. We have three amazing guests today, each discussing a different aspect of business planning that could benefit your business in 2022. But before we get into today's interviews, we just wanted to remind viewers that GAWDA has kicked off its 2022 membership renewal drive. To continue to enjoy all of the benefits that your GAWDA membership has to offer, make sure you renew your membership today. Click the link in the description below for more information or to renew. Our success as an organization is thanks to great members like you. Joining us first today is GAWDA President-elect and President and CEO of Holston Gas's, Robert Anders. Robert, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Robert, as a large company with branches in 6 states, can you discuss the challenges that come along with ensuring that there is strong and consistent communications amongst the branches?
Well, it is a challenge. There's no question about it. You use technology as much as you can, but what we try to do is, what we do is we're very decentralized, and I think that's a little theme of our company. So we've got our regions broken up. We've broken up into 5 regions. We have 5 regional VPs. We try to make sure that information gets to the VPs, and then it's their responsibility to get it down into the branch level.
How important do you feel it is for a company of your size to have a strong company culture and to have that strong trust in the regional managers to make sure that the message gets disseminated at the branch level?
It's critical. If you don't, the message won't get down into the field the way it should be. Our vice presidents have been with us on average 20 years, so they're indoctrinated in our culture. And so we count on them to make sure that they go to the branch managers, make sure that that culture is passed on to them, make sure that it's passed down all the way through our system to our drivers, our fillers. It's critical because if you try to do it from the home office and the ivory tower, it's just not going to work.
Throughout the COVID pandemic, we've heard from many companies that communication has been more difficult but more important than ever. Can you discuss how you handled that at Holston?
Well, actually, things didn't change that much for Holston Gases. We were a little different. We never shut down our operations. We never closed our stores. We never, we never worked from home. We continued to work. We kept our stores open, so we continued to travel, and the VPs continued to travel to the branches, and I continued to travel into the regions. So the communication challenge wasn't that big for us during the COVID situation, but we did start utilizing Zoom a little more and some of those online things because it just was much more efficient, not so much because we didn't want to personally get engaged. It was just trying to make sure that you could touch all the bases.
So with operations in 6 states, how did you navigate all of the different regulations in those states?
Well, we certainly followed the guidelines that were in each local jurisdiction. Whatever they were, we were going to follow that. The South, I think, was a little different than some of the Northeast, some of the real hot spots, and the regulations weren't nearly as strict. But we did get into some areas that, metropolitan areas like Nashville or Louisville, that it was a challenge. And you just had to make sure you understood what those requirements were and then you abided by them.
Is there anything else as it pertains to communication that you want to leave viewers with today?
Well, I think one of the most important things is consistency. You can communicate all you want, but if you're changing your message every time you turn around, you're going to have confusion out there. And I think most of the people in our company that have been with us for a while, that message stays really consistent. It's very customer focused. It's very local focused. It's very decentralized. And that resonates. I think it resonates with our customers, and it certainly resonates with our employees, and we think that's one of the keys to success.
Robert, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned for more great planning content as well as GAWDA member news from across the industry right after a word from today's presenting sponsor, Weldcoa. We're joined next today by GAWDA board member and president of Noble Gas Solutions, Colleen Kohler. Colleen, thank you for joining us again today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again.
Colleen, you gave a presentation at this year's SMC in Nashville entitled We Now Get CRM. For those who weren't able to attend that session, can you give a brief overview of some of the things that you discussed?
Absolutely. I started using CRM for one of the first companies that I worked for, and I specifically used Salesforce.com. And at first I felt like it was a lot of administrative work unnecessarily, but once I dived into it, I can't imagine not using it. It's a great tool, and CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. So for me, I used it for everything. Every conversation that I had, I would log a call. I would put it into the system. Then I was able to set up a follow-up task. So over time in sales, when I was making cold calls, I would make a call and I would say, have a conversation with somebody and they would suggest I follow up in 2 weeks. I would set up the follow-up task in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I just come in, I open up my Salesforce, and there it is. I don't even have to think of it. So you could, at the time I was making, 50 cold calls a day, sitting at my desk. You're making a lot of calls, a lot of things are happening. This way, nothing falls through the cracks. So it's a really great tool, and it's helped hold us accountable in a lot of ways.
So you talked about how CRM improves the collaboration between departments. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So we decided to expand our use of Salesforce, as you were saying, interdepartmentally. So we were just using it as a sales tool, but then we would send our employees to Salesforce University, and we saw that there's so much more that you could do with this tool. So our finance department uses it. We set up a case. So basically a salesperson can be in the field and say, oh, this was billed wrong to the customer. I'm going to create a case. And for the finance team, that way it goes to the team. Someone on the team can, take it on and then close the case. But then that way, again, it's that accountability piece. Everything is getting done. If a case is left open, we can all see it. So it helps us close things in a timely manner. It helps increase visibility into what's going on with accounts. And it also shows the health of an account. In Salesforce, you can go onto an account and you can see how many credits has a customer had, how many calls have you made to them, have they had any cylinder issues. We put we red tag our cylinders when we need to investigate them, and you can see how many cylinders have been investigated on this account, how many audits have occurred. So we really have really invested a lot of time and energy into Salesforce, and to just get the best out of it, because it's really helped us service-wise take care of our customers.
How much more difficult do you feel it would be to do your job as effectively as you currently do if you didn't have a CRM system like this in place?
Again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's that accountability piece. Without a tool like this, there's human error. And as we're all selling, the same or similar products, we really have to differentiate ourselves with the service and how we take care of our customers. So this, again, just helps us make sure that we take care of them the best that we can. We can see trends on accounts, as I was stating before, and then we can do reviews at the end of the year and say, look, this is what we've done for you. We even we do inventory management, tool crib inventory management. We can log how many times that we do that. That way, at the end of the year, what you're saying to them when you're saying, I've really serviced your account, we've done a really good job for you. It's not subjective. It's you can specifically, show them, I've done this for you. And you can also say, we've noticed that this is an area where we can improve. And we found that customers really appreciate that. Nobody's perfect. And at least they feel taken care of. I feel most customers feel they want to be taken care of after that initial first sale. They don't want to be forgotten about. They don't want to feel like they're just one of many. They want to feel cared for, and this helps you do that as well.
For companies who don't have a CRM system or are considering migrating to a new system, do you have any advice that you can offer them?
I would absolutely, if you're on the fence, just like I said, dive right in. I would send some of your employees to whatever software you decide to use to get training, just because some of these licenses can be a little bit more expensive, and you want to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. I mean, it's definitely worth the money, and we would not be able to function the way that we do, and we wouldn't have the success that we have without a tool like this.
Colleen, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you being with us again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again.
Today's member news segment is brought to you by Anthony Welded Products, 4 generations strong since 1958. GAWDA extends its condolences to the friends and family of Vic Sir, who passed away at the age of 89. Vic retired from Mississippi Welders in 2015 after spending 30 years with the company. He will be missed by all who knew him. Ilmo Products Company acquired GAWDA welding supplies. The IWDC announced its Bob Jackson Memorial Award winner at its owners meeting. Congratulations to Dave Ungrew from Kohler Welding Supply, who was recognized for his contributions to the IWDC. ORS NASCO and Medco Tool appointed Valerie Adrian as Vice President of Merchandising. Computers Unlimited hosted a successful users group conference. The conference delivered both live and virtual experiences for TIMS users to discuss the newest capabilities of the current software, new product development, and user-led forums for planning of future developments. Maine Oxy was recognized by BestStartup.us as one of Maine's best industrial companies. GAWDA will host its next Safety Managers Safety Meeting on December 8th. Registration is now open for the 2022 University of Innovative Distribution, which takes place from March 21st to the 24th at the JW Marriott in Indianapolis, Indiana. Finally, GAWDA would like to welcome the following new members who join the association: Nozzle Clean LLC, One Source Vend, and Hudson Technologies. We look forward to seeing you at future GAWDA events. To read more about each of these member news items, or to submit member news of your own, be sure to read the complete December 1st issue of the GAWDA Connection in your email inbox today, or by clicking the link in the description below. Finally, we're joined today by Bill McCloy, Managing Director for MWin's Program Underwriters. Bill, we appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Steve. Glad to be here.
Bill, the last 2 years have been some of the most difficult in recent memory. How have you seen successful businesses adapt to the business interruptions and other changes that have been thrown at them?
I think we saw most of the successful businesses, seize the moment. We know distributors are very resilient, and they adapted to the many hurdles thrown at them. I think probably 2 things we saw. One was the transition in product mix. A lot of distributors shifted to heavy, oxygen, CO2, and just different mixes than they had handled in the past due to the needs. Probably the other big thing was the transition to remote work for some of their employees, and that adds just a whole new level of risk and new issues that I think we'll touch upon a little bit today when we start talking about maybe some cyber risk.
You had written an article for Welding and Gases Today about recovering from a loss like a natural disaster or a man-made disaster. You said that the best time to prepare for an event like this is before it comes to pass. Can you discuss the features of a successful emergency response or disaster recovery plan?
So the first thing is that just like your safety plan, you have a written disaster recovery plan, and you update it with some regularity. So one of the first things you want to do is do a risk assessment. You have critical components, parts that are hard, especially for those distributors that are either manufacturing or oil and gases. You have critical components that if that component went down, that you would need to have spare or a duplicate somewhere. Today, one of the most critical aspects is your system evaluation, where there are weaknesses, where do you have a backup? Is it on-site, or are you getting a server from an off-site scenario? So having that prearranged. Arrangements in advance with your product suppliers. So if your fill plant goes down, you can shift to other sources for providing product and have that in advance with your various suppliers. And then there's communications is a key in all this. So if you pre-plan communications with authorities and certainly like local fire departments and all, I think it was the Minneapolis SMC, we had a distributor talk about how having done that in advance really helped when they had a explosion. And so the the local fire was familiar with the facility and knew what products they had there, and that's important. But also, who's going to handle communication? Who's going to take the lead? Communication with, the media, employees, customers, and, your suppliers. Then there's obviously resuming operations, what arrangements you have. Do you have something set up if an alternative location is needed? And, trying to kind of prepare that in advance. And then last but certainly not least is just the human element of your own, in a natural disaster scenario, you have your employees are also affected. So what are there arrangements that can be made for employees, scheduling, flexibility, carpooling, things like that. So anything that you can do in advance to think through these things is going to help when an accident occurs, from a natural disaster to a unfortunate event, if there's an explosion or something.
In addition to natural events like fires and hurricanes, companies have been forced to deal more frequently with cyber attacks like ransomware and phishing. How can companies prepare to deal with these threats, and what types of insurance do you feel that they should have?
Steve, cyber risk was the number one concern among risk managers globally. And in 2020, first-party claims, which are considered a breach of your data, compared to third-party claims, which were privacy liability and where your data was leaked out, were 3-to-1. So 75% of the claims were actually from data breach, and the top two were ransomware attacks and social engineering claims. So in looking at your overall cyber risk, we could do a whole topic on cyber and all, but the number one control area that carriers are looking for is multi-factor authentication. So that's what they're looking for, to make sure when you log in, you have a second, backup system, to whether it be a text or an email or something to identify that person. But we talked about it earlier. One of the things that you now have exposed is when you have employees working remotely, then now their server, or their network, I should say, is also an open channel. So that's something that employees, they're looking for suspicious emails, those kind of tasks, and doing sort of a cyber check on your employees, making sure that you're providing them with the proper tools like VPN or other things when they're working remotely. And again, that MFA is the number one, tool that carriers are looking for. But there are, the cyber market has obviously, it's a lot different than it was, 24 months ago. There's still insurance available, and there are policies that cover these, first party, third party, include social engineering, and they're available in the marketplace. But carriers are looking for what kind of controls you have. And I think it's probably safe to say that, larger distributors may have more control than a smaller independent distributor, but they can still do some of these things fairly cost effectively and also provide the coverage that they need.
Are there any other important industry issues that you feel that viewers at home should be aware of, especially as we come up on the new year?
We touched on cyber briefly, but that's going to be at the forefront in 2022. Two other trends that we're seeing overall in the industry are, one is, I think most distributors are aware of this social inflation that has impacted auto liability, where, suits are litigated, they're funded, litigation is funded, there's erosion of tort reforms. Unfortunately, there's negative sentiment, in jury pools to business, and especially larger businesses. And we're now seeing that creep into the general liability. It's just kind of a progression of what's happened. Another factor that is certainly at the forefront of the insurance industry is the record number of natural disasters that occurred in 2021, from the freeze claims to flooding to hurricanes to wildfires. So those are all topics on the carriers' minds. And these are factors. So what a distributor can do, obviously you can't control the weather, but what we talked about earlier, DRP, and having a plan in place should you have a natural disaster. And then on the liability side, making sure you have contracts in place, you have solid incident reporting procedures when there is an incident, or if actually, you don't know that there is an incident or going to be a claim arise, but noting something that occurred out in the field that you want to make a note of and try to keep records on in the event somebody comes back down the road and tries to make a claim against something, so that it's fresh.
Bill, we appreciate the insight. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
Cavagna Group's new 6000 series high-pressure regulators for cutting and welding applications offer the highest performance and longest service life in the industry. Cavagna Group, wherever gas is used, we are there.
Before we go today, we just wanted to update you on some of our other projects that are ongoing at GAWDA Media. Our first quarter issue will be our forecast issue. The forecast issue features insights from GAWDA distributors and suppliers about what to expect in the upcoming year. The more input that we get from members, the more complete of a picture we can provide for the membership. To participate in this year's forecast, click the link in the description below. We're also hard at work on the 2022 GAWDA Buyer's Guide. Thank you to all of our amazing suppliers who continue to support the publication. Don't forget to check out our online GAWDA Buyer's Guide for the most up-to-date articles, products, and events in the industry. Finally, if you're a GAWDA member who would like to include a holiday card in our next episode of GAWDA TV, contact Tim Hudson for more information about how to participate. From all of us here at GAWDA TV, we want to thank you all so much for being with us today. Until next time, this is Steve Guillermo signing off.